Welcome into the 615 Sessions podcast here at the Titans practice facility. We got Joe Rexrode coming to us from a living room, from a bedroom. I don't know where Joe is, but he is here with us to talk some Titans football. We are proud, as always, to be presented to you by the wonderful people at Zen Sports, where betting just got better. Plug in the promo code ATOZTN, and they will get you in on all the action. Hello, Joseph. Long time no see.
Hi, Buck. Yeah, so I'm actually in my oldest child's bedroom, which, of course, he now is off to college. But the AC only works in the upstairs right now in the house, so that's one issue. And also, this is kind of like I've kind of taken over his room for the early mornings when I don't want to wake up my wife, because I get up at 4 a.m. for radio. So this is like sort of my other room. So thanks for asking.
Other room.
That's a poster of New York behind me.
Thank you so much for enlightening me with your home logistics. But yes, we are doing the podcast on the move. We are doing the podcast today after practice, and we're trying to make the best out of a less than tenable situation. So there was a lot of different things that happened in day 2 of training camp practice, Joe. In particular, DeAndre Hopkins at the podium with what I think is about as big a compliment as you can give any organization, talking about his level of happiness, how excited he is to be in Nashville, to be a Titan. And I wonder what your takeaways from the press conference were today.
Yeah, so does that mean he secretly hated Vrabes all along? He's like, I love Amy and her firing of the dude who brought me in. I mean, no one's going to rip the owner, but it's like, okay, that's interesting.
Well, it's kind of like the Chig stuff, right? Like, you remember how kind of almost a sigh of relief he was talking about the different environment and how much more at ease he feels. Doesn't it kind of, it's not quite in the same vein, but it's something similar.
Well, if I mean, that's the thing, though. Yes, that you notice that with him for sure. And I don't think he's the only one. And certainly, I mean, there's a totally different vibe with Brian Callahan than Mike Vrabel. And I could see it being a more enjoyable vibe for players. I don't know that I mean, I'm joking on Hopkins. I don't know that he necessarily, meant that. But it was a strong statement. I must say, I was like, wow, this is the happiest you've ever been in any organization. You would have thought that maybe the early days in Houston would have been pretty good. Obviously, that got bad, right? But you would have thought that. And then just because I think that the relationship with Vrabel was, he certainly said it at the time, was a big part of him coming here. I mean, they paid him the most, so that's where you start, right? But it was just kind of surprising, like, oh, wow, because there's obviously been turmoil in his time, and he didn't expect them to be bad last year, and they were. But look, players consistently praise Amy Adams-Strunk for, I think she has created a good environment. She's invested more. We've talked about all that stuff. And I also think that Rand Carthon is probably part of that. That's what I would have to assume, that Rand Carthon, he does absolutely build relationships with players on this team. I think probably different than a lot of GMs. Like, it wasn't like John Robinson. John Robinson's walking around in his suit, and thanks for coming. You're cut, welcome to the team. Now you're cut. I feel like, Rand Carthon is definitely part of that. That'd be my guess. He didn't say that, but that'd be my guess.
And, it's specific to every organization. It's specific to different changes in leadership and individuals and how they kind of embrace, or, we're getting ready to go through a presidential election, God help us. You almost always vote for the opposite party after one party has been in the administration for a period of time, just for the sake of change. You can kind of feel that vibe permeating this place, at least with the recent overhaul of everything, almost top to bottom, save the 2023 draft class that Rabel and Rand put together.
Yeah, well, it's certainly you often see a hire be very different from the last hire. Whoever just got fired, you're hiring someone different, distinctive in some way. And Callahan, offensive guy, defensive guy for offensive guy, gruff. The thing about Vrabel is Vrabel was definitely more of a player's coach than some people are going to want to remember him as. And I think it's just you have better relationships with some people than you do with others, right? I think he had really good relationships with a lot of these guys who are still here, who played under him. But still, glowering overpowering F-bombs galore, no mincing, no words, tough guy kind of vibe. And obviously Callahan is much more of a chill dude that you'd probably want to hang out with.
So we'll play for people the clip of DeAndre Hopkins speaking earlier today. This is from the press conference where he and L'Jarius Sneed also spoke. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit.
I take it day by day. I love Tennessee. I love what Miss Amy's doing. So I think this is the happiest I've been in any organization. So let that speak for itself.
What is it about this organization that makes you so happy?
How Miss Amy runs things. It's a great place to be. She's putting pieces together, to try to win, and it's exciting.
And then we see you out and about in the city itself. You do a lot of things. Like what is it about Nashville that has really captured your heart?
I'm a country boy, so I grew up on country. I grew up around places like this. A little smaller, but it's familiar. I live in South Carolina.
So a man of concise answers, we'll say, but certainly, he's embraced that, Joe, and I think there's something to that for fans who are just, who have been conditioned to a certain kind of way, especially with veteran wide receivers who, all right, what are they coming in here for at the end of their careers? What are they trying to accomplish? How much are they actually invested in the organization, in the city, and things like that? And to his credit, I don't know that anybody of his stature has embraced kind of that late stage phase of their career the way that I've seen him lean in on all things Nashville, not just Titans, but that as well, because obviously he was hugely productive here last year.
Yeah, well, he loves country music. I mean, didn't he come out on stage with Morgan Wallen? Yeah, he's a cool guy. DeAndre Hopkins is a cool guy. So, he is a man of few words. He was very quiet today. I was like, man, is your volume like 80% compared to normal? But I also think he's also really thoughtful and very intentional about everything, in his career and life. That's how he seems to be. He's a very put together guy. He's he's like you, Buck. He's a fashion guy too, right? He's big on the fashion.
Yeah, I'm not walking the runway at Fashion Week in Paris, though. I'm not Joe Burrow with my backless suit yet. Maybe next year, Joe.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just give it some time. But yeah, I think he's. I like the trash talk on the practice field, which he talked about today. He's like, well, you guys aren't at every practice. That's how. I mean, he is a absolute cutthroat competitor, professional. Does what he's supposed to do in the community, all those things. And that's part of why, look, he could fall off the map at any point. And maybe it happens this year. But if I were the Titans, I would be interested in trying to lock him up for another year. I think he's got more good football in him after this year.
Yeah, and especially for what wide receivers next year are going to cost on the open market. Right. If you're a T. Higgins guy or a Brandon Ayuk guy, because you have to keep your options on the table. It makes so much sense for where this team is, and at some point they're going to have to regenerate the depth organically through the draft.
They're going to have to draft one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That would be the most viable path forward. But in the absence of that, he's certainly not a bad option to have kind of in your back pocket, provided he wants to continue to play. We have no idea what this, as you mentioned, he has many very varied interests, and he could decide, yeah, I'm good at this point. We'll see. Quickly, because we're going to keep it short on today's episode, not just because the Wi-Fi is shaky, but because I'm out here way longer than I'm supposed to be on the practice field, and inevitably somebody will come out here and tase me. But L'Jarius Sneed did speak. He hasn't participated fully in practices, but he's been out there. He's been available. Callahan spoke to his management plan. What was your primary takeaways from the press conference?
Yeah, so it is a good question. Whoever asked, it might have been TD, but I mean, it is prescribed. It's not let's go by feel. It's a plan. They've got it in place. Again, this goes back to discussions we have a lot on Robbie and Rex Road, and just had a lot with fans and comments and stories too. It's the NFL is cutthroat business, and these coaches, they're all ripping each other off, and they're all trying to keep each other from. But the trainers, Like they're all on the same team. They really are. Like you know, the product in general, it's like, please keep as many of these guys healthy as possible. So the Chiefs and the Titans trainers got together. They've got a feel for their plan. Brian Callahan talked about that today. And so they've got a plan. And he said the knee's healthy. Again, like Nick Suss asked him, you know, we say if it's healthy, then what's, but obviously there's some sort of, and this is me treading into like medical talk. So, I mean, I really should never do it.
Yeah.
It's
We're
like
not
doctors. It's like a degenerative condition, right, of some kind. I mean, look, we know about Tyjae Spears too. Like, there's a clock on his knee, right? Don't know what it is, but that's part of the deal. So,
and it doesn't come up hardly at all in conversation at this point, right? Because some guys, I mean, they have these monikers on them coming out. Some guys are one contract players, some guys are two. This is a part of the evaluation process.
Yeah, and actually, and I think you could be optimistic if you consider one thing Legarius said was he expects to participate in this camp more than he did last camp with the Chiefs. Of course, there was a lot, you know, there was like concern in Kansas City a year ago, and I'm sure it's part of their decision-making on this too, part of the market for him not being maybe as robust as you would have thought it would be. But if he does participate more in camp this year than a year ago, and obviously the whole key is, will he be able to play at a high level on Sundays? And that's, I guess it's not getting worse, right?
Yeah, at this point, you just hope that, like you said, that the Chiefs have adequately prepared them for it, and it worked well. I mean, he played damn near every snap. He definitely played in all 17 games, and that is something that is going to be critical for this team if postseason is anywhere in the equation down the stretch. We're going to keep it tight with Rexroad today. I appreciate his time, even though he comes to us from whatever bedroom in the palatial Rexroad estate that he decides to broadcast from instead of a professional operation. Robbie and Rexroad, 6 to 9 a.m. on 102.5 The Game. Of course, I will brighten your listening experience at 10 a.m., so you only have to suffer through – actually, Robbie's excellent. But so you only have to suffer through 3 hours of Joe before you can turn the channel and come hang out with me for a couple hours. Buddy, I appreciate you taking some time, and I will see you.
I'm not
Saturday.
done. I'm not done. I want to talk
I'm getting kicked
more.
out of here. I have to go. I have to leave here. They're going to come out of here and throw me in the back of a van.
Well, by the way, real quick, then I do have to shout out my daughter Caroline Rexroad. She is a quarterback of the Seahawks. Flag football playoff game Saturday, so I will not be at the Titans. So you know, I'll be looking forward to all your reports, but wish us luck in the playoffs.
A worthy cause to miss for. Our best wishes to her. We'll look forward to seeing highlights on. I'll keep an eye on yours. You keep an eye on mine. It'll be a great time. Thank you, Joe.
All right, buddy.